Ever feel like your brain is a sieve, and no matter how much you study or read, the information just slips right through? You're not alone. We've all been there, blanking on a name, a date, or where we parked the car. But here's the secret: a good memory isn't a gift you're born with, it's a skill you build. In the next 10 minutes, we are going to break down exactly how your brain stores information and, more importantly, how you can hack that process to remember almost anything. Think of your brain like a massive library. Most of us are just throwing books through the front door and hoping they land on the right shelf. That's why we forget. To remember, we need a filing system. It starts with how we take in information. The first mistake people make is trying to memorize things by rote, just repeating a fact over and over until it sticks. It's exhausting and rarely works. Instead, the brain thrives on connection. Your memory is associative. It's like a web. The more hooks you attach to a new piece of information, the harder it is for that information to fall out. Let's talk about the Baker-Baker paradox. Imagine I tell two people the same word, Baker. I tell the first person, the man's last name is Baker. I tell the second person, the man is a baker. A week later, the second person is much more likely to remember the word. Why? Because the name Baker is just a label, it's abstract. But the profession baker comes with a mental picture. A white hat, the smell of bread, the heat of an oven. To improve your memory instantly, stop memorizing labels and start building mental pictures. If you need to remember a list of groceries, don't just read the words. Visualize a giant gallon of milk wearing a top hat. The weirder the image, the more likely your brain is to keep it. This leads us to the method of loci, or the memory palace. It's a technique used by ancient Greek orators and modern memory champions alike. You take a place you know perfectly, like your childhood home, and you place the things you want to remember in specific rooms. As you walk through the house in your mind, you see the items. It works because our brains are evolutionarily hardwired to remember spatial locations much better than abstract data. We survived by remembering where the fruit trees were and where the predators hid. We didn't evolve to remember 10-digit phone numbers. By turning data into a place, you're using your brain's natural strengths. Of course, getting the information in is only half the battle. You also have to keep it there. This is where spaced repetition comes in. If you look at something once, your brain assumes it's not important. If you look at it 10 times in 1 hour, your brain thinks it's annoying. But if you look at it today, then tomorrow, then in 3 days, and then in a week, you're signaling to your hippocampus that this information is vital for the long term. This is why cramming for an exam feels like it works in the moment but leaves you with a blank mind 48 hours later. You aren't building a memory, you're just holding a thought in your hands until you drop it. We also have to address the physical side of memory. You can have the best techniques in the world, but if your hardware is glitchy, the software won't run. Sleep is the most underrated memory tool. When you sleep, your brain doesn't just shut off, it performs a process called consolidation. It's essentially moving files from your short-term RAM to your long-term hard drive. If you pull an all-nighter, you are literally cutting off the transfer process. You might remember the info for the test tomorrow morning, but you're losing it for life. Combine sleep with a diet rich in omega-3s and antioxidants, and you're giving your neurons the fuel they need to stay plastic and adaptable. Another powerful trick is active recall. Most people study by rereading their notes. This creates an illusion of competence. You recognize the words, so you think you know them. But recognition isn't the same as recall. To truly test if a memory is solid, you have to close the book and try to explain the concept out loud to an empty room. Or better yet, to a friend. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it, and if you don't understand it, you won't remember it. This is often called the Feynman technique. Teaching is the ultimate form of learning. Stress is the final memory killer we need to tackle. When you're stressed, your body releases cortisol. In small doses, this helps you focus. In high doses or chronic levels, it actually shrinks the hippocampus, the very part of your brain responsible for forming new memories. This is why you blank during a high-stakes presentation. Learning to manage your nervous system through deep breathing or mindfulness isn't just feel-good advice, it's a tactical move to keep your memory retrieval lines open when you need them most. Finally, remember that focus is the gatekeeper of memory. In our world of constant notifications and multitasking, we rarely give our brains a chance to actually encode anything. If you're checking your phone while trying to learn something, you aren't multitasking, you're task switching, and every switch costs you a percentage of your memory strength. Give yourself 20 minutes of deep, uninterrupted focus, and you'll find you remember more than you would in 2 hours of distracted study. To wrap this up, stop blaming your bad memory. Start treating your brain like the sophisticated biological machine it is. Visualize your information, build a memory palace, space out your reviews, and get some sleep. Your brain is capable of holding an almost infinite amount of information, you just have to give it a reason to hold on. Start small today. Pick 5 items you usually forget and turn them into a ridiculous story in your head. You'll be surprised at how much you can actually hold on to.